Guys, so I want to start off by introducing myself. My name is Adam Ezekiel. I have a degree in exercise science. I studied kinesiology at York University in Canada. Some of my professors were in the Olympics and in the NHL and NBA. What they're involved in is essentially assessing the players on the team. So for example, in the NHL, one of my professors was involved with the trades. Now you think maybe a player is traded just based on how many assists, how many points they score. They're also traded based on their fitness level. And there's official methods of measuring their fitness level. Those are some of the professors I had. Okay, so I went and did a degree in that. That's because I love fitness with all my heart. It's not a job for me, it's my hobby. I ended up making Aliyah and I did exercise research in the IDF. From there, I moved on and I worked at a few gyms and eventually opened up my own place. And I'm pretty much working all day, from with students to adults and everything in between. I even have someone who's famous. Let's get into it. Okay, today's discussion is going to be on the Torah's aspect, the Torah's view on fitness and health. Is there anything even to do with fitness and health in the Torah? Is there a commandment? Is it something that we don't care about? Okay, so that's the main discussion of today. But before we begin, I want to start off with a question. And the question is, why are we here? Now, not why are we here in this room. The deeper and bigger question, the question that really matters. Why are we alive? What's the reason we're here in this world? Because God wants us here. That's a good answer. To live. To serve. And the reason we're here is because we're here to make a relationship with Hashem, with God, and make the world a better place. That's it. Everything else I'm about to say is just going to tie in to the purpose of our existence. Because if you don't know why you're living, then you can get lost in everything else. So remember, why are we here? Is to make a relationship with Hashem and to make the world a better place. Okay? So let's move on. With that being said, we were given something called Torah Chaim, the instruction manual for living. And inside this book, inside our Torah, inside the Bible, it's going to tell us how to live. Okay? So, we get a soul. All of us have a soul. And it comes down into this world. It needs a home. Our body is that home. Now, if you think about it, if you think about your rooms and your homes, we all want them to be clean and organized. We want to make sure that when we're looking for something, we can find it. We want to make sure that everything is misudar. Okay? So all the more so our bodies. This is the place that our soul is going to live the rest of our lives. We want to make sure it's clean, organized, and running properly. Okay? Now, I want to give you guys a fascinating example. Think of a car. Imagine one day you work hard and you get enough money to buy a car. And you go buy your favorite car. You go buy a Porsche. Okay? And you're so excited. You get this beautiful car. And as you're about to leave, the salesman says, by the way, just one thing. And you're like, what? And he says, before you take this car, I want to remind you that in 10,000 kilometers, I need you to come back and service the car. Right? What happens when they service the car? They change the air in the tires, they replace the oil, they even connect the car to computer. And from there they can determine if something's wrong with the car, if something needs to be replaced, etc. Now guys, what do you think would happen if you didn't take that car to get serviced? What happens if you miss the 10,000 kilometer mark and you go 20,000 kilometers or even 30? It'll break down. It'll break down, right? So now imagine you're on a trip and you've missed the first, second, and third servicing of your car. And you want to take your family and your friends on a trip to Eilat, let's say a 4-hour drive. If you hear squeaks and all kinds of noises from your car, your heart's going to go up. Your heart rate's going to go up. You're going to have anxiety. You're going to start to sweat. You're going to be nervous because you're scared the car is going to break down along the way. That's not going to be a fun drive. But if you were someone who was responsible and took this car to maintenance and get serviced, then you can rely on that car and you can drive to that destination. And guess what? You can focus on the music, on the conversation. You can focus on the journey. You don't have to really focus on the drive anymore because you know it's going to run smooth. Everything is going according to plan. It's the same thing with our bodies. If we don't take good care of our bodies, if we don't maintain our bodies, you know what happens? We get aches and pains. And I meet people all the time in their 50s, 60s, and 70s who come to me and have never exercised in years. And you know what they say? They say, I want to be as fit as possible. Guess what? It's never too late. But you can start then. But don't tell me that that someone who's never exercised until 50 or 60 years old can be as fast as someone who's been exercising since he was a teenager. There's a difference. It's the same thing with Torah and anything in life. If I want to start learning Torah at 50 or 60, what's going to be the comparison between me starting to learn Torah at age 10? Same thing with investing. You take money, you put it into stocks. You start at age 60, you start at age 20. It's going to be compounding their money every single year. You can't wait till the last minute. You got to start as soon as possible. You got to start maintaining your car. And the question of the day is, what does it mean to maintain your body? What are we expected to do to make sure that our car runs smoothly at age 80? I want to do an exercise with you guys right now. It's going to involve just closing your eyes. Check this out. This is very powerful. What I want you to do is everyone close your eyes. Close your eyes. I'm going to do it with you. I want you to picture somebody right now who's 80 years old, in Tel Aviv, a man, going for a jog on the Tayelet. Right? He's going on the jog by the beach. He's wearing shorts and a t-shirt. And he's sweating and he's running along. Everyone picture this guy in your head. He's got gray hair. Everyone got him in your head? Open your eyes only when you have an image of this person in your head. I got it. Everyone got the picture of this guy in your head. This old man, 80 years old, gray hair, jogging. Is he fat or skinny?
Skinny.
He's skinny. Do you know why he's skinny, guys? All of you have a skinny guy in your head. Do you know why he's skinny? Because he started when he was young, and also all the fat people are where? In the old age home. They're sitting down, or they died already. Think about it. I'm serious, it's not a joke. It sounds funny, but listen. You're carrying all this extra weight. Your heart has been pumping blood ever since before you were born, in the stomach. How's it supposed to run until 120, right, without breaking down, considering you have all this extra weight on you? Some people have an extra 20, 30, 40, 50 kilos on them. You're only allowed on an airplane 28 kilos extra in a suitcase. Some people are carrying around 60 kilos extra. How is your heart supposed to be able to maintain that if you haven't even gone for a jog or done any exercise in the last 20, 30 years? It ain't going to happen. You're going to stay sitting down. People are going to be running in their 80s are people who took care of themselves today. So that's one thing I want to point out. Let's take a closer look now at our body, okay, and what we have inside of us, okay? You know, sometimes when people die, they donate their organs, okay? It happens. I want to ask you something. How much do you think they sell a heart for? $1 million, legally, if you buy it legally. Okay, we're not going to talk about the black market here, but if you sell a heart legally, it costs $1 million, right? It pumps blood to your whole system. Okay, next, how much does the liver cost? What does the liver do? It filters blood. How much does that cost? $550,000, good guess. Next, then you have your kidneys. What do? They filter waste from your food and medicine. How much does that go for? About $250,000. Okay, what I want to focus on right now is our hands. Okay, now if you look at your hands, you do a lot of things with your hands, right? Everyone squeeze your hands. Everyone go like this, right? You can pick things up with your hands, okay? You can put things down with your hands, okay? You can do chesed with your hands. You can give. You can also steal. You can do bad, right? Okay? You can eat, okay? You can give food. You can do a lot of things with your hands. Now, what's fascinating about your hands, I'm going to blow your minds right now. What's fascinating about your hands is they take your thoughts, they connect the mind to the physical world. You want to make a phone call? You use your hands. You want to do something? You use your hands, right? And it's not a coincidence that the Torah says what? Before you eat something physical, wash your hands, netilat yadayim, and say a bracha, right? Why? Because we are here for spiritual reasons. We're Am Yisrael. We're here to make this world a spiritual world, not a physical world. In fact, if you don't do a bracha, guys, if you don't do Netilat Yadayim, in the Gemara, in Masechet Sotah, you know what it says? It's equivalent to doing? It's equivalent to doing something disgraceful. That's the words I'm going to use, okay? So, very important to use our hands in the right way, right? And all the more so with our body, to make sure we're using it in the right way to elevate it. Now, I want to go a bit deeper now and talk about health, specifically. Now, science is telling us if you want to live a healthy life, then it's important that you focus on nutrition, that you exercise, that you get plenty of rest, okay, that you have meaningful relationships, okay, and that you have a bit of money, right, because you need money to be able to go out and do the things that you need to do, okay? So what I want to focus on is specifically the Torah's perspective and what it thinks we need to do, okay, and then we'll compare it to science and we'll learn together. So first things first, let's talk about what are the statistics. Today, in Israel, 55% of men are overweight. 41% of women are overweight. Who cares? Why is that a big deal? Why does that matter? I'll tell you why. Because when you're overweight, you have less energy. When you're overweight, it leads to more diseases. One of the leading causes of death is heart problems. Okay? When you're overweight, it affects a lot of aspects of your life. And it's very important that we do our very best to avoid it. Like we said, we want to make it to 120 free of pain. And one thing we're going to constantly refer to is something called the blue zones. Now, National Geographic got involved with a man named Dan Buettner to discover where in the world are people living the longest, healthiest lives.
Africa.
And the answer is Sardinia, Italy, Okinawa, Japan, and Costa Rica. Okay? In these three locations, people are living past 100 on average. There's nowhere else in the world. And not only do they live long, they live healthy. They often die in their sleep. Okay? This is incredible. So there's a lot to learn that we're also going to compare to them as we go on this journey this evening. Okay, so let's now go into the Torah and see, where does the Torah ever talk about fitness, health, strength, and nutrition? Let's begin. The first example that the Torah uses to talk about food is with Adam and Eve. God puts us down in this paradise, and He says, here's your diet. Here's what you got to do. There's just one thing you have to avoid. Don't eat this thing. The first sin of mankind is eating something that they shouldn't have. It's not about what it was. The concept is the restriction that we couldn't follow. There was something, so to speak, in the fridge that we were told don't eat. We opened the fridge 20 seconds later when we thought no one was looking, and we grabbed it. And look at that. We're still facing the same problem today. In America, in Israel, and all over the world, we're just growing and growing in obesity. There are places in the world that are starving to death, and the other part of the world is eating themselves to death. Because we can't hold ourselves back. The first example of it is with the first human beings of mankind of all time, Adam and Eve. The next example, when it talks about food in Bereshit, and I quote, it says, behold, God is saying, behold, I have given you every herb yielding seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree that has seed yielding fruit. To you it shall be food. What it's saying is eat a plant-based diet. Now, I'm not a vegetarian, I'm not a vegan, okay? But the places that live the longest in the whole world, in these blue zones, are eating a plant-based diet. Fact. So we have to learn to eat more vegetables. They might not taste as good as, let's say, candy and other things, but we have to just understand that's what the body needs, because in those vegetables and fruits, we have vitamins and minerals. Coca-Cola gives us no vitamins and no minerals. Okay? We have to focus on getting more vegetables into our life. That's what the Torah is teaching us. Let's move on to the next example. We have Avram Avinu. What's the first parsha that we see him actively going? Lech Lecha. Isn't that ironic? Go for a walk. He has to walk to Eretz Yisrael. Of course he has a horse or a donkey, etc., a camel, whatever they were using. but I'm sure along the way he walked. Also when the Jews left Egypt, right? They had to go for a walk. They had to walk. That's a pretty big distance to walk. You needed some kind of fitness to be able to make it, right? Next, moving on. Yaakov, I love this one. Yaakov Avinu, what does he do? He has to get to a well. He's on his way to Lavan, right? To meet his brother-in-law, to eventually get married to Rachel. And he's on his way, and he gets to a well, and there are other shepherds around. And he asks them, what are you guys doing here? They say, oh, it's too heavy, the cap, the lid on top of the well. He says, we can't move this. All of a sudden, Yaakov sees Rachel walking, and he just says, I'm going for it. And he just pushes this stone well over the lid, and he gets water for everybody. It's showing us he was a strong guy, right? Also, when he fights the angel, he's fighting. He's strong. Now, I want to tell you guys a story. One time I was at the gym when I was in university, and somebody came up to me. It's a true story. Came up to me and he said, hey, where are you guys from? I recognize you from class, from fitness class, right? I said, I'm from Israel. My other buddy said he's Jewish. I don't know why. He asked where we're from. He said he's Jewish. I said, I'm from Israel. He says, this guy that I've never met, I've seen him in class. He says to me, you guys are Jews? I said, yeah. He goes, wow, I've never met strong Jews before. I always thought Jews were weak and skinny and had curly hair. Right? And you can see more than ever, guys, there's a wave of anti-Semitism going around where people are picking on us. People are pushing us over. People are attacking us. We got to be strong. We got to be strong. We got to work on ourselves. It's no joke. It's no joke. Next, we see Moshe Rabbeinu. The first time we see him in action, what is he doing? He's beating an Egyptian down because the Egyptian was oppressing another Jew. Moses was strong. Then we see another example when Moses gets to Egypt, or leaves Egypt, and he goes and meets Zipporah. There are men there that are bothering the women, and he fights. Another example of strength. Moving on. The Jews were in plenty of battles. They needed to be strong in war. Then, Yosef. Before even the story of Moses, when Yosef brings his brother to finally meet Paro, who does he bring? The smaller ones. Why? Because he doesn't want Paro to take the bigger ones for work and other jobs. Next, in Deuteronomy, what does it say? You should guard your health. Ushmartem al nafshechem. Right? We're supposed to protect our body. Then, interestingly enough, when else does it talk about food? When the man falls from the sky. How many portions did we get? 1 per person. The Torah is telling us 3,000 years ago, dude, just take 1 piece. Why are you taking 5 pieces? Calm down. Right? Then we complain about food again in the desert. Give me meat. Where's the meat? Where's the meat? We complained a lot. Then God did what? He gave us meat, and guess what? He killed the people that were complaining about the meat after. Oh wow. All of a sudden, all these points start coming out at us, and we're like, oh my goodness. I didn't realize the Torah took it so serious. Food, health, and fitness. It's all there. You don't have to read between the lines. You just got to look at it straight. Just focus on what you're eating, right? Then, finally, in halacha, we have a halacha that says, even on Shabbat, if someone isn't feeling well, if someone falls, if someone's life is in danger, you can do what? You can desecrate Shabbat. Because God is telling us the most important thing is life. So take care of it. He's letting us know all the time. This is number 1. Let's keep moving forward. Now I want to go in. We're going to leave, so to speak, the actual Chumash. And now we're going to visit the sages. We're going to visit some of the greatest rabbis that ever lived and hear their opinion. The first rabbi I want to bring up is the Rambam. Okay? Now I don't know if all of you know who this is. What I will tell you is that the Torah is telling us, guys, that it says, Lo haya od echad mi Moshe ad Moshe. Okay? There wasn't anyone else as great as Moses, as Moshe, which is actually the Rambam. This is the person they're describing. And the Rambam, what made him so great was that he wrote something called the Mishnah Torah. He basically came out with halachot. And the Shulchan Aruch uses this book to create the halachot. Okay? But what's fascinating about the Rambam, he was the doctor of the Sultan of Egypt. He was the head guy involved with medicine in Egypt, okay? And what he did, he lived 1,000 years ago, and he basically came up with rules to live. And we follow his rules. When it comes to halakha, when it comes to charity, when it comes to kashrut, there's a lot of things. But what we don't realize is that he also came out with rules on health. Let's talk about some of his rules that he came out with. Okay? The first thing he said, guys, this is very important. The first thing he said is that food is our first step to health. That's it. Food is going to equal your health. If you're not eating well, you're not going to live well. Okay? He also says, only eat when you're hungry. If you're not hungry, don't eat. He says, if you're thirsty, drink. If you're not thirsty, don't drink. Okay? He also says, very important, this is super important. It doesn't sound serious, it's very serious. If you have to go to the washroom, even a little bit, just go. Don't hold it in. Just go. Very important. Okay? In fact, he even says that if you hold it in, you'll get constipated, and that leads to bad health. Very important. Next, some people say that on Shabbat we don't gain calories. It's nonsense. The Vilna Gaon says not to overeat on Shabbat. In addition, the Rambam says overeating is poison. I just told you, when you get old, if you're overweight, you're not jogging, you're sitting. Okay? Next, the Nachmanides, also known as the Ramban, he says that you can be a Navon, imishur shel Torah. That means you can be a disgusting person with the issue of a Torah. How? You can go into a kosher restaurant and just eat and just not stop eating. That's what it's saying. So we have to be careful with that. Next, Rambam says that we must refrain from any activities and food that harm our body and only do activities that make our body healthy and strong. Okay? Next, he says this is very important. As long as a person exercises vigorously, which is what? Make sure you have rhythmic breathing, okay? And has soft stool, that means he goes to the washroom and everything works k'mo sh'tzarich. Okay? Even if he eats a little bit unhealthy from time to time, he'll live a life free of disease. Okay? Now, how do we start exercising? The Rambam says, he says start light and work your way up. There's a story where he talks about a man had a baby calf. And what he did was he put it on his back and he would walk with it. And each day the calf would get bigger and bigger. And so did he. He got stronger and stronger. That's how we should exercise. You start light. Don't ever think you can just go into a gym and just start pounding out heavy weights. You'll tear a muscle. You'll hurt yourself. You got to start light. Okay? Another thing that Rambam says is to make sure when you're eating, save about 25% until you're full. So you're eating, you're almost full, stop. And this is one idea of how you can live a long life. Let's talk about some rules, he says. When you're eating, what to do? Sit down. Sit down. I don't know if you've ever eaten while walking or running or anything like that. You start getting stomach aches. Okay? Then he says, eat slowly. Slow down. To the point that what? Next rule? That you chew it and it becomes liquid in your mouth. Okay? That's the best way to eat. He says, eat your bigger meals. This is the most famous point. It's lasted thousands of years. People take the credit for it, that it wasn't him. It was him. Okay, he says, eat your biggest meals in the morning, medium meals in the afternoon, and tiny meals at the end of your day. Okay? Next, he says that you should wait after you eat. This one everyone knows. Wait about an hour to an hour and a half before you exercise if you already ate a meal. And in fact, the best time to exercise is when? The Rambam says, right when you wake up in the morning before you eat anything. And you know what science says? That if you do that, you actually burn double the amount of fat you would had you eaten. Makes sense, because you've been fasting since the night. So now you have barely any energy. You're going to go for an exercise. It's going to burn a lot of calories. In addition to that, I once gave a talk on something called 0 hour, where kids exercised before they went to school, and they all did 20% better that year. They got 20% better grades. Because the cardiovascular aspect of exercise, the running, all the jumping jacks and things like that, makes your mind more focused. It activates this part of your brain called the prefrontal cortex. It's involved with executive functioning. Forget all those fancy words. It's involved with getting you focused. and it's involved with working memory. Basically, the memory that's involved with short-term memory, deciding what you're going to do with everything I'm saying. Some parts you're filtering in and keeping, some parts you're forgetting. That's called your prefrontal cortex. Next, he says that you should eat lighter things first and work your way to heavy things. So first have your salads, then have your fish, then your chicken, and then your meat. Okay? Rambam says that if you follow those guidelines, that means if you exercise, you eat till you're not full, you sit down, and you take care of yourself, then you won't get sick, and you'll live a long life, okay, free of disease. What about sleep? How many hours do we need to sleep? 8 hours. We need 1/3 of our day dedicated to sleep, okay? What happens when we sleep? Everything we learn goes into our heads. That's when it gets saved into our minds, when you sleep, okay? It helps us heal when we sleep. Okay? Next, the Rambam says don't eat 3 to 4 hours before bed. It's a tough one. Okay? Again, not all these things are so easy to do. Okay? But again, these are some of his principles. He says go to bed hungry. Now, you know who eats a big meal before they go to bed? Sumo wrestlers. Right? So if you want to gain weight, make sure to eat a big meal before bed and you'll get fat. Alright? Good job. Next. I'm going to go down to a few more last sources of other rabbis now, okay? The first rabbi we're going to talk about, and we're almost near the end, okay, is Rabbi Salanter, okay? Yisrael Salanter, and he says we need gratitude. It's a fundamental law in any relationship to show gratitude, to say thank you to others, okay? Especially with God. And there's no greater ingratitude than not taking care of your body. Who gave us our body? God. Right? If someone lets you borrow their iPhone or their car and you smash it, that's showing ingratitude. Right? That person's going to think, are you serious? I let you borrow it for a couple hours, you broke it? That's not nice. Same thing with our body. We've got to give it back. Okay, the Chafetz Chaim says what? Our bodies are here and given to us by God to accomplish our life's purpose with them. Right? The Zohar, guys, listen to this. The Kabbalah, the Zohar, says the physical world is related to a horse. Right? A horse, you see a Ferrari, like this beautiful animal. It's got muscles, it goes fast, etc. It says the physical world is related to a horse. Why? What does the horse do? It's just an animal, right? It eats, it sleeps, it does all these things, right? What's the significance of the horse? How do you spell horse? In Hebrew? Samech. Vav, Samech. Think circle, line, circle. Listen how deep this is. We're going to go real deep right now. Sus represents physicality. The two circles on the outside, the Samech, represent never ending. It never ends. The physical world never ends. You got one iPhone, you want the newest iPhone. You want something cool, all of a sudden you get it, it's not cool anymore. You want the newest one. You can't wait. The physical world never ends. Right? And that touches on the body. Some people exercise for the wrong reasons. Some people want a six-pack. Some people want to get ripped. So what? They can do physical things with it. So they can go to the beach and do all kinds of things, right? You guys can figure out what I mean, okay? So basically, the idea is to get to the vav. What's the vav in the word sus? It's got its head in shamayim and its feet in the ground. That's the idea we want to get to, this tranquility, this equilibrium, this balance. And when we say, I don't need to exercise to be the fastest guy, or be the strongest guy, or be the most ripped guy. I just want to be fit, to be healthy. Right? That's what we need. Okay? Yosef Karo, he wrote the Shulchan Aruch, he wrote all our halachot. What does he say? Any obstacle that endangers life, it's a positive commandment to remove it, and to be very careful around it. Because it says, protect yourself and guard yourself. And if you didn't remove it and set it aside, then you're doing something dangerous and you're violating a positive commandment. Okay? And it also says, do not bring blood guilt upon yourself. 2 more sources, and we're done. The next one, okay, is the Ravad. From the 12th century, Rabbi Avram ben David. He says something very deep, and we're almost done. The idea that the purpose of eating for us is to have energy to live. And healthy foods do not and unhealthy foods that don't fit within this purpose, we shouldn't be eating. Okay? If we're eating foods just for the taste, okay, and we're just chasing things for the taste, and we're not concerned about its health, what are we doing? We're chasing the Yetzer Hara. That's deep. Listen to that. Listen to that. You're eating food just for the taste and nothing else. Nothing matters. Health doesn't matter. You know, what your longevity doesn't matter. You're just going, I just want to eat this because I want to have this piece of chocolate. You're running after your impulses. But what we need to do is remember, what are we here for? We're here to live a spiritual life. And when we follow our Yetzer HaTov, it'll strengthen us to eat the right things. Okay? And one of the last things I want to bring up, going back to the blue zones, is that where people live the longest lives possible, right? What makes them live long is having meaningful relationships. Not just food. It's having meaningful relationships, right? And meaning having good friends in their lives. People you can trust. People you can call in the middle of the night at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. because there's a crisis, and they'll actually be there for you. You need at least 5 people like this in your life. If you don't have it, it's also going to affect how long you live. So what does it have to do with Judaism? We have Shabbat. We have Chagim. We're supposed to invite people into our lives. We're supposed to sit down. We're supposed to be with our friends. We're supposed to go to synagogue and be in places where we can make good quality friendships, because that is going to equal a long and healthy life. I want to bless everybody listening to this, that you guys should all take your health super serious and make sure you get to a long life, free of disease and full of strength. Have a great, great day.